Hello wonderful world, and welcome to another motorcycle review. The bike in question is the Benelli TRK 502x. Now I'm going to give a review which is pretty short and precise, and then I'm going to ride this off-road, and that's when I'll talk about the bike and how it feels off-road. The reason for that is simply because most people who review this bike review it on-road, but it is an adventure bike and it needs to be tested off-road. Let's go through the positives and negatives before we hit the off-road track. So the first positive I'm going to share is the affordability. It is the cheapest adventure bike you can buy. Now, it's not competing with the Japanese contingent, it can't, and that's the God's honest truth. But then you can buy this brand new at a price that you would be hard pushed to buy an old Japanese bike. With a 20-litre tank and a fuel efficient engine that sits at 500cc, it is a good bike for distance. From the tank you can get a high kilometer range depending on how hard you push the bike, but I have exceeded over 500 kilometers out of the tank, which to me is considerably impressive. The ergonomics of this bike means that it is a comfortable bike to ride, and the seating posture is exceptionally good. Though I must add that really anything over 5'10" in height is best, anything below maybe not so great. We can't avoid mentioning its rugged look. It really does look like an exceptionally well-designed adventure bike. Next is vibrations. I'm now currently riding at 136-37 kilometers per hour, and I can tell you now the bike did not vibrate. So for a 500cc engine, it packs a big punch. Others have mentioned vibrations, but I'm pretty sure it's not to do with the engine. Whilst I continue with the positive and negatives, let me show you a little photo shoot of the bike so you can see it from different angles. Next, one of the positives that I want to mention is that it is an off-road bike. It's an off-road adventure bike, and it does very well. Later in this video, you'll see how well it does. It wouldn't be fair if I just quoted all the positives of this bike and didn't share with you the negatives. So let's start with the negatives. The very first one, which is a big negative. It is a very heavy bike. A very heavy bike, which is also top heavy. So around 230 kilograms without weight added onto it that you put in panniers and whatnot. It is hard sometimes to manage this bike. When it's moving really well, you don't feel the weight, but in low speeds, you do definitely feel the weight. What I've done, even though I'm 6 foot, I've put a lower seat, and it just gives me a little more stability on my feet, and that helps. Some argue the power delivery is slightly under par, but it's a 500cc. You can't expect it to compete with the likes of 1200, 1250, 1300 GSs. It is 500cc, and for a 500cc, I think the power range is absolutely okay, but some say maybe not. Personal opinion, I think, prevails. Some argue one of the negatives is its soft suspension. You would want a firmer suspension if you want to go hardcore off-road. However, for me, I love the fact that the suspension is soft. Sometimes when going over difficult terrain, you don't feel the terrain, the roughness of the terrain filter through the seat and into your back, your spine, your bottom. So I like soft suspension. But then again, I'm not doing really tough terrain. I'm doing tough terrain, but not really tough. So different horses for different courses. Some argue that its build quality is a little poor. Nuts and bolts get loose, and that has been raised as an issue on many forums. However, it is an adventure bike, and if ridden in the kind of terrains I'm riding in now, then things do get loose. It's not a big problem. Once a month, maybe once every 2 months, one should just check the nuts and bolts to see that everything is where it should be. Not a big task, really. Aftermarket parts is another issue that some owners of the TRK 502X have mentioned. However, things have changed. Since the bike was introduced, more and more items are available through AliExpress and other Chinese selling forums where you can buy almost anything for this bike. That's the pros and cons all over. Now for how I feel when I ride this bike. Look, the terrain I'm riding in is not the smoothest and it's not the roughest, but it definitely puts the bike to a test. I have to report the bike passed with flying colors. The bike is solid, it's firm, and it's very stable. In these kind of terrains, these off-road adventure terrains, it's held its own. Not once have I felt that I was on a substandard bike. Indeed, I actually felt I was on a premium bike. This bike is here to stay. There's no denying that. Let's be honest. If budget wasn't an issue, then of course one would purchase a Japanese or German bike. But budget in the day and age we live in now is a major factor. And considering a new bike that's Japanese would cost maybe 3 to 4 times as much as this bike, there is no denying this bike has a firm place in the market. Overall, it looks good, it rides good, and there's nothing here that one can say is substandard. So, thumbs up from me, and for all those considering buying this bike, just one thing to bear in mind. It is a little top heavy, and height-wise, the taller you are, the better this bike will fit you. Fit you like a glove if you're over 6 foot. Anyway, folks, that's it for today. That's the review over. God bless all those on 2 wheels. God bless us all.